YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Drew back with another video. Count update for our first week of May. We finished out the month of April very strong. We got our account up to over $22,000. As you know, we started our account at $10,000 back in March. We've doubled the account, got up to $22,000. Now we're starting off the month of May. Like I said, start out $22,000. Goal is to get this to about $30,000 before we start risking a little bit more money. Right now, we've been risking $1,000 in every trade to make our $2,000 profit. Once we get to about $30,000, we will start risking roughly $2,000 to make our $4,000 and keep scaling. Get this account to over six figures by the end of the year and go from there. So. First week, so we traded our first week of May, our first red week in a minute. This is our first red week. Not a minute. I think we had a red week in May, first or second week in May, something like that. But we started out this week. Like I said, our first week in May, we came out in red. We lost our first trade, AUDCHF that I had sent out. We had gone to GPAUD on Wednesday morning. This trade was actually a very clean setup. Actually ended up hitting take profit. We're gonna go over that. If you were in the trade with me, literally we were one pip away from the stop loss, or we were one pip away from the take profit. It literally came all the way down to hit break even just to go all the way up and hit the take profit by the end of the day. So we got into GPAUD and then we also got into NZDCAD, same similar setup. Very clean setup. We were a couple pips away from take profit, came all the way back up and hit break even. So we got into really nice trades, really clean setups. It was just one of those weeks where market just wanted to do what it wanted to do, which is fine. We obviously understand not every single week is going to be a great week. Not every single week is going to be a profitable week. You're gonna have great weeks. You're gonna have average weeks. You're gonna have weeks to where you're not winning as much. It's all in the name of the game, right? We understand this. We just keep rinsing, repeating, and letting the probabilities play out in our favor. So, as you can see, first week of May, these are the three trades we got into. As you can see, we started our account at $22,200. Right now, we are at a 0% win ratio. We've only cleared one trade for real. Obviously, these break-even days don't really count. So we've really only gotten to one trade. I actually had one trade hit a take profit or a stop loss. So right now we're 0 for 1, 0% win ratio. We're negative $1,000 to start the month. Obviously, our account is down by $1,000. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break down these trades, go over the trades that were sent in the Discord this week. Like I said, man, very clean setups. I think so. AUD, CHF, we had lost that one. Gonna break that one down. I actually haven't even really like looked over and saw why that was um, a loss, but GPAUD, very clean setup. Very clean. This ended up hitting take profit. Literally made a big spike to the upside. Stopped around the dime, came all the way back down, hit our break even just to come all the way back up. So, we messed out on that, and then NZD. As you can see, boom, this was the structure. Barely missed our take profit. Came all the way down, hit our break even, took us out the trade. Um, NZD CAD, we got into this Thursday morning. Clean setup as well. Came all the way down, was just a couple pips away from a take profit. Came all the way back up and hit our stop loss, or came up and hit our break even. So I'm gonna go over our break even trades first. Let's go over that. What was that? It was the first one. GPAUD. Let's go over that GPAUD over here. Let's open this up. Okay, so GPAUD. Let's go over here. All right, as you can see, we still have the entire picture set up, all that. As you can see, boom, mark came all the way up. Literally stopped right on the dang, came all the way down, hit our break even, just go all the way up and hit that take profit. So let's break this down. Let me show you exactly what it was that I was looking at when I was looking at this. So this was on Wednesday morning. Rewind this. Wednesday morning. All right, let's go to our exact picture. Okay, so we got into GBPAUD at 5:06 a.m. 5/7. So at 5:06 a.m. Let's see exactly what this was looking at 5:06. Let's rewind this. So about right here, give or take. Okay, go to 4 hour. Okay. So this is where market was at during that time. Okay. So obviously, whenever we're going out to the market, this is the first thing I noticed. Remember, I'm looking for a break of structure. I'm looking for a reason for me to even get into this trade. I'm looking for market to trend. I'm looking for market to fail to make a low to continue make a push to the upside or fail to make a high to make a push to the downside. So when I'm looking at this, we see the structure. We see the market's on a downward trend. We see the market's making its lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and lower highs, and things of that nature. Okay. We see that market came up. We see that market has failed to make a new low. So if market fails to make a new low, that is an indication that market is getting ready to make a new high. Okay. So let's put this into the real life market perspective. When I'm looking at this from a 4 hour glance, because remember, whenever I'm trading off the 4 hour time frame. I'm primarily looking for entries and setups and things of that nature from the 4 hour perspective. So I need to see this structure within this for me to even think about marking this up, right? From the top all the way to the bottom. So like I said, when I'm looking at this just from a first glance, we can see the market's on its downward trend. I see markets making its lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. We see the market failed to make a new low. Okay. And we see the market is getting ready to make its new high. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing this as a potential opportunity for me to trade. Why is that? Because, like I said, if market failed to make a new low, that's market's indication that it's getting ready to make a new high. And with our understanding of how the way the market moves and swings, okay, if you haven't gone through my, academy, if you haven't gone through, all my, training videos of exactly how I trade, all this is going to make sense. Okay. So, understanding how the way the market is moving, flowing, we know the market is going to be moving in similar to equal swing. So if market made this move up and we see that market is getting ready to make that next movement, we know that market is theoretically going to make something similar to what that last move was. So we can use that as a roadmap, right? So obviously when we were looking at this, okay, so wait, this opened up at 5. So this from 5 to 6. So I think market didn't make this move yet. Market was still somewhere down here because we got in at 5:06. So that means the candlestick opened up right here. So when we had got in, where did we get our entry at? Entry area 2.06, 2.06218. 2.06218. Boom. So we literally got in right here. That was our entry. And then obviously market had made that push to the upside. Okay, so obviously we were risking this to make all this. Okay, so now, like I said, this was the first thing that I noticed. I saw that market was failing to make a new low. We saw that market was getting ready to make a new high. Another confirmation that I had, as we all know, I'm waiting for that 4 hour candlestick to get broken, to get taken out. We had saw that. This was my opportunity to potentially trade. Now, obviously, remember, we're not just going on one time frame and just dictating our entire analysis of one time frame. We need to look at this from the top. We need to make sure that what we're seeing from that overall perspective is going with the overall trend. So when we look at this from that monthly perspective, we see that market's on a upward trend. We see markets making its higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Move this, okay? We see the market has made its higher high, and we see the market is starting to retrace. Okay, so let's draw this out. Remember, on these bigger time frames, we're not trading off these time frames. What we're doing is we're identifying and having a clear understanding of exactly what the market is doing. So that way, when we go to our time frame that we trade off of, i.e., the 4 hour time frame, we know exactly what we're looking for because we know what the overall move wants to go, right? So right? We see the market's on this upward trend. We see that market made a push up, and we see that market starting to retrace. Okay. So obviously, within every single trend, there is a trend. Within the trend on the monthly, there is a trend on the weekly. Within the trend on the weekly, there is a trend on the daily, and within the trend on the daily, there is a trend on the 4 hour time frame, right? So if market is going to retrace from that monthly, that's going to be a downward trend from the weekly. If market's going to make this push up from a monthly, that's going to be an upward trend within the weekly time frame. So right now, we can see the trend that's going on within the weekly. We see that market made its higher high, right? Because understand, this monthly move up is an upward trend within the weekly. So we can see that trend. We see the market's making its higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. We see that market is failed to make a new high, and now we see markets starting to retrace. So as we can obviously see, markets are retracing right now from a monthly perspective, right? We were expecting that because remember, the market's going to be moving in a similar to equal swing. So once market made this move up, came down and made a similar move to this, we're expecting this to now start retracing from that weekly, which is obviously going to be that downward trend within the daily or we see this retracing from a monthly, which obviously is going to be a downward trend within the weekly. Now we know the markets like to move and flow with the EMAs. So we understand the market is going to at least come down into this range at some point. Okay. Our EMAs are treated like support and resistance. So we know from a monthly perspective, market is going to at least come down, is going to come down to here eventually at some point. Okay. Remember, like I said, all we're doing is just getting an understanding of what the overall move is and figuring out what the move wants to do today, right now. From that forward perspective, where does market want to go today? We need to look at this and have that understanding of what these bigger time frames are actually doing. Okay. So right now, let's draw this out. We can see that market's made its higher high, right? Made its higher high, made its higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Okay. Now we obviously see market starting to retrace. We see market take out that low. Now we're seeing market getting ready to make that next push to the downside. Okay. So we understand that market is going to at least make that push down into here. Now, how's that going to happen? Remember, within every single trend, there's a trend. If this weekly move is going to come down, that is a downward trend within the daily. If this weekly move wants to retrace up, that's an upward trend within the daily. So now let's go to the daily time frame. What is the daily time frame telling us? Right? So we can see from a daily perspective, we can see the trend. Let's start right here, right? Remember, if you cannot see the trend here, go in the past. Figure out why these moves were made and follow it. If you can identify why this move, this weekly move up was its upward trend, you could then identify why this weekly move down was a downward trend. You can then identify why that next move up was an upward trend. And in return, you can identify and see what is going on right now. Okay, so like I said, we can start from this trend. We can see the market made its higher high, higher low. Because remember, when market's trending, this is how it moves. When market wants to go a certain direction, you're going to see market make a series of higher highs, higher lows. Once market wants to retrace, you're going to see market break the structure. You're going to see market fail to make a new high. Now you're going to see it make it, and now you're going to see it make its downward trend and whatnot. Okay, this is that weekly move up. This is that weekly retracement down. When market wants to go back up from a weekly, we'll then see this trend start doing this. Okay. That's how the market is moving and flowing every day. So now let's put this picture into the real life market. We see that market is on its upward trend. Okay. We understand that for this weekly move to happen, their trend needs to be identified. So we can see the market made its push up. We see market made its next push to the downside. We see market came up. We see market make that next push to the downside. We see market came up, made its next push to the downside. So now if market wants to retrace, we need to see market completely take out that high. Boom, we see market take out that high. If this move wants to start coming back to the downside, okay, if this move wants to start coming to the downside, we're going to see market make a series of lower lows and lower highs. And that is going to be that next push down. Okay. So now we see that market completely took out this low. Okay, we see market completely took out this low, and now we understand that if this move wants to keep coming down, it is going to need to trend down. So this is what I mean by, right? We understand the overall move. The overall move with GPAUD is that it wants to go to the upside, okay? But like I said, we are identifying and figuring out what GPAUD wants to do today, okay? Right now, today, what GPAUD wants and needs to do is it needs to retrace, okay? Because remember, like I said, what Mark is going to do is going to come to the downside. From an overall perspective, Mark is going to come to a downside from the weekly because we need to fill this area within the EMAs on the monthly, right? So in order for that to happen, this weekly move needs to come to the downside, which means that's going to be a downward trend within the daily. Now we understand from a daily perspective, market is not just going to take a straight shot to the downside and hit this area. It is going to trend. Now, like I said, within every single trend, there's a trend. So if market is going to trend from a daily, right? This daily trend is a trend within the 4 hour. So given the fact that market took out this low, we understand that this move is not going to come down forever. If market wants to come down, it needs to trend down. So once market took out this low, we know that market needs to start retracing at some point. Now, how do we know when this is going to retrace? The 4 hour time frame is going to tell us. If we start seeing a break of structure within this 4 hour perspective, then we know the market is going to get ready to retrace. How high this is going to retrace to, we understand that the market is moving and flowing with the EMAs. So we know that market is going to at least, it obviously can go greater, but we know the market is going to at least come up and retrace into this area because this is where our EMAs are at. Our EMAs are treated like a support and resistance. Right now, the so right now the market is showing us what like the move did for the day. This isn't where market was at. Market was more so like down here, and you're gonna see it when we go to the 4 hour time frame. It plays out the entire day. Um, it plays out the entire day, like what the move did for the day. When you rewind it, it doesn't show you exactly where market was at, like at 5:06 a.m. So at 5:06 a.m. market was more so down here. Go to that 4 hours so you can see. All right, so as you can see, that 4 hour perspective, remember, even this move didn't get made all the way yet. Market was still down here. Remember when we go to that 1 hour time frame, 5:06 market was more so down here. Okay. So now when we go to our 4 hour time frame, remember when we looked at this from the top, let me erase some of this stuff just so we can see. Right. Remember when we looked at this from the top, or when we first opened our book and we got into GPAD, we're like, hey, this could be a potential buy opportunity because we're seeing market fail to make a new low, getting ready to make a new high. Now, when we look at this from the top, I'll even erase this. Now, when we look at this from the top, we can see that hey, what we're looking at is actually, going with the overall flow of the market right now today. Right now, today, market needs to retrace. And we know the market is going to at least retrace somewhere into here. So now when I'm seeing that market is potentially on an upward trend, this is my opportunity to potentially try and trade, to potentially get into this setup. Okay. Because right now, like I said, we can see the 4 hour trend within the daily. So boom, market made that push down. Came up, came down, came up, down. Right. So now, like I said, market failed to make a new low. That is an indication that market is getting ready to make a new high. And like I said, we know the market is going to at least come up into here and clear this high right here. Okay. So now we are finding our opportunity to trade. Now, like I said, at 1 o'clock, this is where market was at. Okay. So market was more so down here. So let's go back to the Discord. So this is what I was looking at real time. This is why I sent this trade, right? So when we're looking at this, okay, this is where market was at. Okay, we have the exact same picture. Market was sitting at 2.06218. Okay, so this is literally where market was at. 2.06218. Okay, so when I sent this, I said entry area 2.06218. This was on May 7, 2025, 5:06 a.m. So entry area 2.06218. 2.06218. 2.0621. Basically right here, okay? 2.06218. Okay. So why did we buy it here? Okay. Remember, what are our confirmations? Okay. The main confirmation that we need is we need to see that break of structure within the 4 hour candle. Okay. We need to see that break of structure within the 4 hour candle. That is our main confirmation that we need in order for us to get into a trade. Right. So now that we have that confirmation, we are basing our entire entry, we're basing our entire stop loss off of that 4 hour candlestick because we understand if this wants to keep going to the upside, we know the market is going to keep respecting our 4 hour candle until market hits our, necessary target, right? So now when we're looking at this, right, obviously we market took out that candlestick. So now where's my stop loss? Right before that last candlestick, that last 4 hour candlestick low. Okay. So now what are we doing? Right? What are we doing? So we understand that the market is going to move and flow in similar to equal swings. So we have all this room to play with. Now, with this structure, all we need is a 1-to-2 ratio out of this. Okay. We need a 1-to-2 ratio out of this setup so we can get our chunk of the pie and get out. So now, obviously, get our little tool, show us where our 1-to-2 ratio would be at. Okay. So this is the only spot that we need market to go to. Let me get right on it. Close enough. Okay. So this is all we need the market to get to, right? We just need a market to come all the way up into here. Got our 1-to-2, get out, right? Let's go to that 1 hour. Okay, so our take profit is at 2.07104. Stop loss is 2.07, 2.2.0. Oh, hold on. Our take profit is at 2.071. I think mine was at 104. This is at 110. Same exact thing. Stop loss 2.05781. 2.05785. Basically the same thing. Okay, so let me move this. Okay, so now when we play it out, let me zoom in. Right, we got a very, very nice push to the upside. Was in profit very, very quickly. We were just letting this ride out. I think by the time market got up to here, I believe, I told everyone, hey, everybody put your stop loss at break even. Let me go exactly. Okay, so yeah, I said just stop loss move to break even. Now it's a risk-free trade. Like I said, market was literally on it was literally on a great pace. So yeah, like I said, I think as soon as market got up into here, I said everybody put their stop loss at break even. So now my stop loss wasn't even here. My stop loss is sitting right on my entry. As you can see, market came all the way up, barely, barely, barely missed the take profit. Barely missed the take profit. But honestly, it doesn't matter because, like I said, as long as the analysis is correct, as long as our sense of direction and everything is correct and on point, it doesn't matter. This market, you're going to get into a lot of setups that are like this throughout the year. Remember, we're not looking at trading from a daily perspective or even a weekly perspective. I want to know what is my account going to look like at the end of 2025, right? Not every single day is going to be a winning day. Not every single week is going to be a booming and bombing week. Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to have weeks that are freaking great. You're going to have days that are freaking great, but that's not going to be every single day. You're going to have average days. You're going to have days that aren't good, and you're going to have great days. So now, the fact that every single time we get into this market each and every single day, that those three scenarios could possibly happen, we need a system. We need something in place to be able to accommodate for each and every single one of those possible scenarios. Okay. And that's why it's important that we stay disciplined. That's why it's important that we stay consistent. Because even though this trade did this, the next trade isn't going to do this. The next trade isn't going to do this. Right? The next trade is going to hit take profit. The next trade might hit stop loss. The next trade might hit break even. The next trade might hit take profit. But the thing is, like I said, when we're playing the game of probabilities and we're doing the same thing every single time and letting the probabilities do its thing, you're always going to come out on top, right? I mean, just look at these last 2 months. We haven't won every single trade, right? Last month we won 45% of our trades. The month of March we won 55% of our trades. That means out of every trade, out of 10 trades that we're getting into, we're only winning four to five of them, and we're still in profit, significant profit. I've doubled my account. Started my account at $10,000. We're at over $20,000 within the account right now. Okay, so it doesn't matter. We don't need to win we don't need to win every single trade. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to be consistent because we understand that one, smart can do whatever it wants at any time. Right? We literally saw this stop on a dime right before our take profit and come all the way down and hit our break even. Right? Smart can do whatever it wants at any time. Hit our break even, came all the way down, hit our break even, just to come all the way back up and hit our and completely demolish our take profit. So that's why, like I said, it's just important to consistently just keep doing the same thing. As you can see, literally came all the way up and obviously hit our EMA as well. So now we're expecting this to continue make that push back to the downside where it actually wants to go to. But like I said, um, especially if you're not experienced within this market, you can be looking at a losing day as a failure, as a, dang, I'm not doing this right. No, dude, that this is literally the name of the game. Okay. It's just, having your system, having, your system in place and just letting it play out on its own, right? You're gonna get wins, you're gonna get losses, you're gonna get break evens, right? Just let it do its thing. Keep growing your account, um, keep growing your account, keep doing what you doing need to do, and just let the probabilities play off, right? Like right now, like this happened, I'm not even tripping. Like, oh well, on to the next. We get another trade the next day, which we did. I'm gonna go over it. Literally a clean setup. Hey, break even as well. Oh well, go on to the next trade, right? Still have a lot of game to play left, right? So very, very clean setup. Like I said, the main thing is, hey, our analysis is correct. Our sense of direction is correct. Boom, we missed this one. Let's keep doing the same thing, go to the next one. Okay, so that's GPAUD. Very, very clean setup. Very, very nice. I wish we were able to profit on that. Wish it went up just a little bit more. Would have made some money off that. Would have came out in profit this week just off winning that one trade. Just like that. One trade can literally change everything just like that. So that was GPAD. Then we got into NZDCAD. We'll go over that. I'm gonna go over that AUDCHF. I actually really want to go over this because I actually have no idea why. I haven't even looked at it. I didn't even look at it even when it hit stop loss. I kind of was just like, fuck it, whatever. Um, we'll go over that though. But let's go over that NZDCAD. This was Thursday morning, and this pair was moving so slow. Like, oh my goodness. Erase this. As you can see, I still have this. I still have this up as two. I still have this set up as well. This was honestly just one of those trades where, like I said, you remember I always say the market's gonna be moving in similar to equal swings. Okay, I don't want you to take that analogy to its most literal like sense. Okay, we're only using that analogy as a guide to have some sort of prediction as to where the market wants to go. Okay. So as you can see, this was that last move that market made, right? When we clone it, we understand the market is going to make something similar to this. Okay. So that similar equal swing was more so down into here. We can see that we see that market made something similar to it and obviously started to retrace because because the overall move at NZD CAD is coming to the downside, right? Overall move with NZD CAD is coming to downside. All market was doing, like I said, it just decided that it wanted to not make that exact same. Oh, just decided it didn't want to make that exact same swing. As you can see, it started to retrace. Right now, we see it getting ready to getting ready to go to the downside. Okay, like I said, happens, man. You just have to understand that. The market can do whatever it wants. Just understand your system, let your system play out, let your system do what it needs to do, and let the market do what it wants to do. But very clean setup, like I said. We got in. Or it came down, like, as you can see, this was kind of like a similar setup. Right, it was right by our take profit, came all the way back up and hit our break even. So let's break this down. Let me show you why we got into this, why I sent this out. Where's this? So I sent this at, second. I sent this at, uh, all right, so boom, NZDCAD sell. This was May 8th at 5:05 a.m. 5:05 a.m. Mm-hmm. May 8th. Okay. Boom, right here. Right. So this is what market was looking at. Okay. So why did we mark this up? Why did we even think about getting in this trade? Okay. What do you see? Right. If you're looking at this before I even go, what do you see? Right? Do you see a break of structure? Do you see market trending? Do you see a potential opportunity to trade? Okay. When I'm looking at this is the first thing that I see, right? This first thing I see. I see that market was on an upward trend. Okay. Remember, like I said, I'm not just automatically basing my analysis and getting in a trade just because I'm looking at this. No, I'm just getting I'm just getting some type of confirmation to even actually look at this because if this doesn't give me some type of confirmation for me to potentially trade, there's no point in me even trying to look at this. So what confirmation do we have for this to potentially be a trade, right? I see that market was on an upward trend right here. I see there's a clear break of structure, right? I see that market has retraced and I see that market is getting ready to make its next move. Okay. I see that market made this move and we understand that the next move that market's going to make when it's trending is going to be a similar move to what that last move that it made before. So now when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing this as, okay, this is getting ready to make something similar to this, right? So boom, we see that upward trend. We see that upward trend. We see market take out its low. We see market retrace. And now we see market getting ready to go to the downside. Okay. Just looks just like our picture. Okay. This is the first thing that I saw. This is the reason why I'm like, hey, let me mark this up from the top so that way I can get a clear, accurate description of what this wants to do. Okay. This is what I'm looking at. So now that I have my confirmation, right? Now that I have my, structure that I want to look for, we need to look at this from the top and make sure that what we're seeing is going with the overall flow of the market, right? So let's go to that monthly time frame. Remember, identify the trend. Sometimes you can't even identify it. Sometimes it's hard to see what's going on here. Just go in the past, okay? I can see this right here. I can see that boom. I'll start right? Start right here. See that market made its push down. We see market came up. We see market took out its low. We see market came up. Okay. So now we see market getting ready to make that next push to the downside. We see the market made a move down here. We know the market going to move in a similar to equal swing. So if market just made this move, okay, 9 times out of 10 is going to make something similar to this. In order for this to happen, this is a trend. In order for this to happen, this is a trend. In order for this to happen, this is a trend. Okay. So let's go to the weekly time frame. Remember, we can't see what's going on here. Honestly, I can't see what's going on here. So let me go in the past. We already figured out that this move has been established. So identify this structure within the move that has already been made. Okay, remember, like I said, if you can't see what's going on here, identify the structure within the past moves and follow it. Because if this was made, right, based off this trend, then you can identify the trend here and in return, identify the trend right here. So let's do it right now. Boom, we can see market was on a downward trend. We see market made his lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, Okay. Stop trying to focus on every small ADB move. Focus on the structure. Figure out why these moves are being made. Okay. We see that market made a big push up. Okay. So now remember, we need to identify this structure, right? We need to identify this structure. Okay. This structure is not always going to look picture perfect, right? This is a prime example. Because we have identified from a monthly perspective that this is coming down, we just need to identify this structure within this movement. Okay. So now when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing this as market made its push to the downside, market has came up, and now we see market getting ready to make that next push down. We see market took out its low. We see market is retracing up, and now we see the market's getting ready to make that push to the downside. Okay. If you haven't watched my academy and watched my exactly how I trade, it'd be best to do that. A lot of this will make a lot more sense. Make sure you do that. I break down exactly like how I'm marking up things of that nature. So right now we can see that trend, right? We understand that overall NZD CAD is on a downward trend. We see market came up, we see market took out its low, right? And now we see market is retracing. We see that we're sitting on our EMAs. We understand that our EMAs are treated like a support and resistance. Where is that at? Right? So we are sitting at an area price where market can shift. Now remember, small times are going to tell us everything. If this does want to shift, these smaller time frames will tell us. How is it going to tell us? Because within every single trend, there is a trend. If this wants to start coming down from a weekly, that is going to be a downward trend within the monthly, right? Or I'm sorry, it's going to be a downward trend within the daily. If this weekly move wants to come to the downside, it's going to be a downward trend within the daily. So let's go to the daily time frame. What is the daily time frame telling us, right? What's the daily time frame telling us? Figure out the trend. Figure out why these moves are its moves and follow it. Okay, so if we can't see what's going on here, go in the past. All right, so we can start. Let's start back here, just because even right here is still kind of chunky, right? So we see market made its low, made its high, made its low, made its high, made its low, made its high, made its low, made its high. Now we're starting to see the trend here. Boom, 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 boom. Hold on, I'm tweaking. Nope, that's not it because we see the market completely broke this structure. So since this move has been made, we need to look at it like this. Boom, market came down. Boom, market took out its high. Market took out its low. We see market came up, right? We see that market has, let me call it. So now we see that market is getting ready to make this push down. Let me draw this out. See market came up. See market came down. We see market made the next push up. Okay, so now we're not even seeing this as market retracing because this is still giving us confirmation that this wants to keep coming down. But this wants to keep coming down, right? So market's going to make this similar swing right here. All right, remember the market is going to be moving in similar to equal swings. So in order for market to make that similar to equal swing, this daily trend needs to keep being respected. So now you see from a daily perspective, this can come all the way down. This can keep making a downward trend until market comes all the way down into here because this is that last swing the market made. Remember, the market's going to move in a similar to equal swing. Okay. So obviously, if this is going to happen, that is going to be a trend within the daily, which is a downward trend within the 4 hour. So now when we go to that 4 hour time frame, okay, when we go to that 4 hour time frame, we can see the 4 hour we can see the 4 hour trend right here. Okay. Remember, if you can't see what's going on here, go in the past. Figure out what's made these moves move. We can go as far back as we can. We can go all the way back. right? Start here. We can start here. Let's start on this trend. Okay. Identify this structure. Identify this structure within the moves that have already been made. It's not always going to look pretty. Stop trying to pay attention to every small itty bitty candlestick. Okay. Pay attention to the structure. We see that market made his move here. We see market made a push down. Okay, so this is the reason why I'm marking this up the way that it is. This is a key area. This is a key point within this structure right now because we see that this has taken all of this out. So I'm not going to try and mark up this lower low, lower high, lower low when this move right here completely took all this out and this move has already been made. This whole move has already been made. And in order for this move to be made, this structure has to be made. Okay, that's how the market moves and flows. It's going to move in a trend. So we need to identify that trend. Market made this push down. So I understand that when market made this push up, this is the highest point market I got to, right? From this high point, this is the lowest point market I got to, and this was that high point market I got to before I made that retracement up. Okay. So now we're not marking up a new low until this low right here gets taken out. Boom, this low gets taken out. Now we see market made a low here. Market retraced up. Market made his push down. Market made his next push up. Market made his next push. I mean, market made his next push down. Okay. So now, boom, we identified the trend for this structure. Market came down, came up, came down, came up, down. Okay. So now, same thing. Identify this structure is going to be black. Identify this structure now to the upside within this movement that it just made. Okay, so we can see market made its push up. Market made its push up, came down, came up, came down, came up, came down. Market made its push up, came down. Market made its push up. We see market completely take out this structure. We see market has made this push to the upside, and now we're seeing market getting ready to make that next push down. All right, so market made that next push up, came down, came up, down, came up, boom, 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 boom. Okay, so now we understand that market is going to at least make something similar to this to the downside overall from our perspective. Now we can see the trend that's even going on within these smaller perspectives, right? We can see the trend. Let's move this. And this is what I sent out, right? See market making its lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Okay. Because remember, within the move on the 4 hour, there's a move on the 1 hour time frame. All right. So we see the structure that market is making. Okay. This is what I had sent out. Right. We see the trend. You see market making its higher highs, boom, market took out its low. We see market retrace. This is the structure that we were looking at when we saw this from a first glance. Right. This is the structure that we were looking at when we saw this from that first glance. Okay. Just draw this out so you guys see everything visually. Right. Logo taken out. We see market made that next push up. So now we know that market's going to move in a similar to equal swing. Okay. So now when we're looking at this, so now when we were looking at this real time, where was market at? Okay, so when I had sent this out, So NZD CAD sell 5/8/25. This is where market's at. Our exact same picture. Okay. Have our exact same picture. Market was sitting at 0.82271. So 0.82271. So down right here. So about right here, something like that. Okay. This is our entry. So where's our stop loss? Why did we enter there as well? Okay. Why did we enter there? Okay. Because when we're looking at this, remember, we're basing our trade off of that last 4 hour candlestick. If we see a break of structure with it, if we see a break of structure within that 4 hour candlestick, that is a confirmation as a confirmation that market wants to go a certain direction. Now, given the fact that we see this as a downward trend, we see that that last candlestick took out the previous 4 hour candlestick before. Because remember, we're looking at this real time. This is the candlestick that we're looking at real time, right? So we're basing it off of that previous candlestick. That previous candlestick took out the candlestick from the last candlestick before, giving us an indication that this wants to keep making this push to the downside. So when we're looking at this, I'm seeing this as an opportunity. Hey, boom, we can get in at a really good area price and still have a very, very, very solid risk to reward. Because now our stop loss is based off that last 4 hour candlestick, which is up here. Okay. So now we understand that, hey, market's going to at least make something similar to this movement, right? All we got to do is get our 1 to 2 ratio out of that movement. So boom, we see that this was that high. Market came down. Where's our 1 to 2 at? Okay, this is where our 1 to 2 ratio is. Okay, so like I said, we don't even need this entire move. We understand our 1 to 2 ratio is sitting right down into here. Okay, so now when we're looking at this, our stop loss is at 0.82527. When I sent this out, stop loss 0.82521, same exact thing. Our take profit is at 0.81771. 0.81781, same exact thing. Okay. So now when we play this out, like I said, very, very clean setup. So now you can see, right? We are on a complete downward trend, right? This is going to keep coming. This is on a complete downward trend. Now we understand that this 4 hour move, this 1 hour move needs to keep being respected, right? So when we play this out, all right, we see market was playing in our zone a little bit, playing in this area, gave us a nice shot to the downside. This pair was moving so slow. This whole move, it took all day for market just to do this, right? So we can see market came down. This is the lowest point that market had got to. Obviously, when you zoom out, you can see, okay, yeah, we understand the market is going to make something similar to that last movement. So we can see market came down, literally stopped on a dime right here. So instead of making this whole movement, literally stopped right here, made something similar to the last movement, right? Obviously, once market was all the way down here, I told everyone, I told everyone move your stop loss to break even. It's not a risk-free trade. So we were approaching our take profit, but like I said, the market decided, yeah, nah, we don't need to go any down lower. And then it came all the way up and hit our break even. So boom, stop loss wasn't even there no more. Stop loss was at break even. So market came down, hit our break even. And like I said, now we can see that from that 4 hour perspective, right? This is just how low market wanted to go to. We can see the market retrace. We see that market still respecting its high. We understand that this is still going to keep coming down from the downside because we understand where we're at within this market right now. We understand we got all this room to play with. So, boom. So just one of those trades, you know. Like I said, as long as our analysis is correct, as long as our sense of direction is correct, it doesn't even matter. We're just gonna keep rinse and repeating because, like I said, market's not gonna come down and do this every single time. You're gonna have trades that hit break even. You're gonna have a bunch of winning trades. You're gonna have a bunch of losing trades. All it is just, making sure your system is there in place for every single possible scenario. Because when that's the case, our probability is always gonna play out in our favor. So, those are the two trades. Yeah, just for the sake of time, I'm not even. I mean, I kind of want to go over that. It's about to be 12 a.m. over here, so um, this is pretty. I think these two trades are pretty good setups to go over and like I said, just have knowledge on because like I said, I mean the two trades were theoretically correct. It just like I said, the market just wanted to do what it wanted to do this week, which is fine. We're gonna come back, same exact system, same exact approach to every single trade, and we're just gonna let the probabilities play out. So with that, let's go back to our. Let's go back to our account for the week. Yeah, so like I said, these are the three trades we had gone into the AUDCHF. We lost. I didn't go over that. I think that's what I think these two trades you guys got, you know, pretty good amount of knowledge on. But GPAUD had our break even and the NZDCAD had our break even. So um, down $1,000 for the week. As soon as we win our next trade, we're back in profit, and we collected this, and we're back in profit, and go from there. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications every single time I'm dropping. Make sure you guys are applying the information to the real life market to your own trades. Make sure you guys are learning and gaining the necessary knowledge that you need. Let's keep on growing. Let's keep on flourishing. And let's have a great week next week. I will see you guys all next time. Deuces.